I've planned for it for years. At one point, we came close to it, but we decided we didn't quite have the two titans that we needed to perform it. I noticed in Peter Hall's biography, the first thing they thought of was, how do we cast this? And immediately they said, we cast John Gielgud and Ralph Richardson, and they were off and running. And they sent it to them, and immediately the answer came back, yes, yes, we want to be with it. So I had exactly the same event. I sent it out to my two favorite mature actors, and they both said, why not? Yes, let's get together. So that's the way it came about. But I have thought, as my years have advanced, and as Pinner's, well, he was actually only, he was 45 at the time, but it was his worst period of his life. We have him talking in '93, saying that it was the worst period of his life. When he wrote No Man's Land, he was in real despair. He was breaking up with his wife, for one thing. Wife and son who had just got out of college, and that will always impose huge difficulties, as many of you probably know. So he had a miserable time, and he was beginning to feel pulled this way and that in his style. I've always claimed that he was heavily influenced by Beckett at this time, and began to think in terms of solo work and internal work, an interior monologue. And he used those techniques for Silence and Landscape, two plays that I just done back in the late 60s. And now it's as if Hearst had a series of interior monologues of which we only hear fragments, but they're critically important to the character and to the understanding of the play. Spooner hears it all, but can't necessarily get the entire picture. He does a lot of guesswork. And that's what confused the critics when the play came out. They couldn't understand why they weren't told more. Well, Pinner's always said, don't ask what the play's about. I never write a play for it to be about something. A play is, it's almost, he says, it comes into being of its own. Although I am mindful of my Ruth in Homecoming saying to me, sort of 3 weeks into the rehearsal, you know, I'm in a fog with Ruth. What is the audience going to come away with? And I gave him the most Pinner answer I could summon. He used to say, it's not a question of what you're conveying. But I said, there are 550 seats in the Loeb, and I would like 550 people to come out with 550 different ideas of who you are. It should depend on who they are and who you are on stage, but it should never be, you should never inform them who you are. That would be totally contravening the rules. I saw an opening and I sprang forward, calling my actors, and they could come. And I thought, well, I'm going to learn something from doing the script, and I'm going to learn something about myself. I'm going to learn, now that I'm older, what it is to go through the final years for someone who's banked his life on being an artist. A writer, of course, is very different. A director is a mere interpreter, and a writer is an originator. But I thought I would find where Harold Pinner gathered courage and what suddenly was loomed in front of him, looking over the edge. And that's where he started. And it's very interesting. It's a very interesting process to be looking at one's own edge and seeing Harold Pinner look at his.